Hello, folks. This is Matthew HU, and welcome to our FineReport Training section on the topic of dashboard. So during the section, we're actually going to go a few dashboard relative concepts, and we're actually going to go focus on the three components in a fully designed dashboard. So at the end of the section, you actually are able to get some common knowledge about how a dashboard is being created, and also being able to build some certain level of understanding about dashboard in general by yourself. Hopefully you will find out our section is helpful and informative. So first thing first, define the dashboard. So instead of giving you guys definition, let's just take some screenshot that I took about the dashboard. So this is a screenshot of dashboard about bank operation and management. As you can see, so basically pretty much dashboard is like a few components in a big board that's either do a presentation or either just do a data analysis. On top of that, something else I want to show you is our demo site. Our clients find out this demo site is super helpful because especially for the beginners, you actually can use this demo site to see what FineReport can do or what's the capacity of our product. Especially for the beginners, I guess before they want to create their own dashboard, they always want to take a look about how others did it. It's like if you want to do a research proposal, you pretty much want to see how others did their research proposal, even though there's no way to copy paste their idea. It's just like you want to understand how the structure works. I guess that explains the usage of this demo site. So I opened this bank operation management dashboard over there because I think that's actually a very good demonstration to show how do you create a good dashboard. Because from the title, you can tell this dashboard has a clear presentation goal, right? So they actually want to do analysis on bank operation and management. And in the middle of the dashboard, you actually can see these map components, the switching around in a certain time. And around the map, you actually can see different indicators, right? Either like branch earning or deposit and loan size or asset management. All this information actually support or giving more details about their point or their argument. That's basically what dashboards should have. So my point in here is that the dashboard is all about showing data and designing the details. In other words, you can say that the content of the content is important, but also the presentation of the content is important as well. So I guess that's everything to know about definition of the dashboard and the demo site. So we're gonna back to our agenda. So we are in the process of this introduction part. So before we moving on to the design pattern, there's something else that I would like to share is that people usually learn by doing instead of watching it. But since our design of online training, it's just impossible allow you guys to follow the instructor step by step during the training because it just will extremely increase the duration of the section, which is not maximize the usage of everyone's time. So I highly suggest that if you want to get a more practical example, you actually need to do it yourself instead of just watching it. But our training actually provide a general overview about how should you learn or start a dashboard. And the next thing we're gonna have is the design pattern. So for this part, I actually do have a few PowerPoint slides for it. And after design pattern, we're gonna cover the layout types. And before the water break, we're actually gonna explain a little bit the demo that we're gonna make together and why we need to do it. And after 10 minutes break, we're gonna have some like dashboard introduction about UI, and also a few practical example or practical practice, for myself, or you guys can observe it. You guys can watch it, right? So that's pretty much how the section will be delivered. And we're gonna back to the design pattern, right? So this is a PowerPoint I prepared. So for the design pattern, we actually have 4 stages. Stage number 1, blueprint. So basically, blueprint basically means that you need to know the goal of the presentation or the goal of the dashboard. What kind of message you want to pass to the audience. Let's take these slides as an example. We do have let's say this customer relation management system. For the system, we actually can do this presentation by providing data from different perspectives. That's what we call indicators. For example, you can get some data about customer relationship focus or customer central organization configuration. All these things. Each component actually going to take each indicator actually going to take one component in a dashboard. That's the important. Why is it important? Because every time when you create a dashboard in FineReport, the very first thing you need to do is to choose a template. So understand this is pretty much the very first step you need to do. You need to know how many components you're going to have, which means you're going to know which template you're going to use. Let's say we're going to use one of these. In our example, we actually have 6 indicators. That's why I choose this 5 to 6 components template. So this is a very first thing you need to do when you create a dashboard. Next thing is that when you have data ready, you need to find the correct way or the good way to present the data. For example, if you have like a bunch of data, I mean, this is the picture that I got, like which kind of chart you need to use for different type of data. Let's say if you have like either comparing specific data, depends on the numbers of category and items. You can either use like a bar chart, column chart, or tables. If you want to compare those data over the time, you actually can use a line chart. So I'm not going to read everything for you because I know you guys can read it yourself, and it's really dependent on the case. But the thing is, figuring out which kind of chart you need to use or the feature of the data, you will build a connection between the data and the chart. And you have to make sure that in the FineReport, we actually do support those kind of chart. So this like linkage between data and the chart and the FineReport has been made. That's something that you need to have during the process of set up the blueprint. And I actually attached a design 101 in the agenda, like the help documentation, and also the demo site as well. So you actually can use this as a reference in the later. And next, what we have is called component library. So this is the second step. Actually, it's not, my bad. It's a theme padding, and next part is the component library. So theme padding is something that's you need to done at the early stage of designing the FineReport or in designing dashboard in the FineReport, because in the theme, actually including lots of style, including chart, tables, and cells or font color. All these things you need to done it when you create a dashboard, because if you want to change later on, the entire UI pretty much will change a lot, which probably is not something you would like to do. So in our product, in the FineReport, there are 2 things you need to look at it. One, it's under the server. The server, there's a thing called template theme management. So when you click this, you actually can see, you actually can create a theme for the dashboard and for the general report. Dashboard file type FRM and general report CPT, and you can actually click add to create your own dashboard. And also for this button right there, is like every time when you create a new dashboard, it will actually follow whatever you're gonna choose. So let me click this to show you a little bit. So let's say if I want to click plus sign and there's a light theme and you see this chart style, component style, right? That's something to set in the beginning. But like I said, the default, you can pretty much just use the one we have right there. And in terms of if you want to change the current dashboard theme, right? What you're going to do is you're actually going to click this closing icon right there to change it. So if I click this, so what you're going to do is you just double click it. You see this theme of the dashboard has been changed, right? So many things have been changed. Do this early possible because you don't want to change it later because it's just because it will change like many things that you didn't even expect it. And the next thing is component library. It's something over there. These. Well, speaking of which, we're actually talking about component library, right? There's a few more things I want to introduce. It's called like block chart widget. So basically, you can in the dashboard, all you need to do is just like drag and drop these components into the dashboard, right? For example, if you want to have this chart in here, so you see this component has been added in the chart, sorry, in the dashboard, and also the data has been embedded in there as well. If you click edit, you actually can see these components actually require different type of data, right? Age, like gender, like number, right? Something like this. So for the beginners, if you want to quickly create a component, you don't have to do it your own. You can just pick something you like from the component library by yourself, and do the drag and drop and maybe study a little bit more about how do you make something similar, or if you want to make slightly changes, right? You can do that as well. And on top of that, there's something else. I mean, this is the most common components you can get from the FineReport. So this is a report block. So if I drag and drop in here, you will see these like cells in there, right? So basically, by drag and drop a report block, it creates a way to connect the generate report and the dashboard together. So if I double click it, you will see this, like general report-ish UI, right? So all the functionality is pretty much the same. So if you some people say the differences between the dashboard and general report in FineReport, it's just like a dashboard contains multiple general reports, and you actually can choose whatever you like. You can use like multiple dashboard. You can use multiple general reports in one dashboard, or you can use different widgets, right? So another thing that I'll introduce is called widget and the chart. So chart, I don't think it's a, well, let's drag and drop one chart in here, right? Let's do a column chart over there. Pretty much the same. If you double click it, you can change some information about that. And also for the widget, there is a component. It's called image widget, right? Or it's called image control. The reason why I want to bring this up is it's because the background actually play a very important role in the UI design. So what I want to do is I actually want to change the, let's say, the background for this widget. So this is the image widget, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click the image control and select the image. And this will be the title. So if I do a stretching or that's it, yeah. So as you can see, this map has been embedded. Sorry, this image has been embedded into this dashboard. Speaking of which, we actually have a few more things to look at it. Let's cover this right now. So you notice this image has been embedded into this dashboard, right? And you see this body, like form, body, and picture. The layer in here is that, let's say you see this box 1, and box 7, and box 5. You see this dotted line, which means there is no component for it. And for the one has component in here, the icon has been changed. And in terms of a layer, you can say picture 0 is on the very top, and chart 0 is on the second level, and box number 1 is on the very bottom. So I hope this explains, why this layer, the layer concept. In this example, it's not really important because we actually will cover this later on, but we're actually using adaptive layout in here. So there's no layer required, or there's the layer doesn't really important for the adaptive layout, but for the absolute layout, actually it does. And then we're actually going to cover this later, so I will just going to stop right there. And next thing, let's check our agenda or PowerPoint. Yes. So we have been covered the theme setting, and also the reuse components as well in here. And next part is the polishing the dashboard or customize the dashboard. I actually do have a few slides to explain why the polishing is very important. So take a look about this FRM tutorial version 0.0. So this is pretty much what I did, followed by the step I just mentioned. I know how many indicators I know how many indicators I need to have, and I created a dashboard with a template, and I drag and drop the components from the component library or just create by myself. And also I do the theme setting, and that's what I got, without polishing. So what you can see right there is that it's just not pretty. There's so many things I can complain about. For example, this is the title, right? Somehow the title should be in the middle because just make it equivalent, right? And also for this line chart, you notice this line chart has title, but for this pie chart and this bar chart or column chart doesn't really have title. It's just not equivalent. And also if you look at this area, you notice in the database for somehow the color, in the label, the color appear, but not the text, right? So something wrong with the text, something wrong with the data. And also this pie chart, just the readability is just none, right? It's really hard to read. You're not gonna know which one's which. So that's where the polishing step in. So this is a few implementation made after, from the previous dashboard. So I moved the title, the title of the entire dashboard into the middle, and I gave this title for each component, and also this has a component as well. And also I removed the label for this column chart, right? Because you actually can put this information in there. And I even sorted this pie chart a little bit to increase the readability. People can know, the color is which one's which, instead of the very messy. But this still has some space to improve. For example, you see this huge white space is empty, right? There's nothing in there. And also you see this white space over there. Seems like, it's kind of weird because, these two lines are pretty full, but not the third one, right? And also you notice this number for this line chart is really hard to read. And also we have something like this $3 line, right? If you don't really know what it is, you might think it's confusing, right? So we can, improve based on that. We're actually gonna have something like this, right? So I rotate this pie chart a little bit to take the space in the middle, and I remove one of item in the label, and then I increase the numbers, I add more value in this y-axis, right, to make this to increase the readability. So my point in here, again, the presentation of the data is important. Having these is what you do with the first 3 steps. But with this is something that's you really think about, oh, how are you gonna deliver the message? And that's why I actually put this polishing your dashboard at the very end of this design pattern, which is very, very important. So please do so instead of just leaving something like this. So back our agenda, we're talking about design pattern pretty much. And next part about the layout. So in the FineReport, we actually have two different types of layouts. One is called adaptive layout. One is called absolute layout. I do have an example prepared over there. So this is adaptive layout, and this is absolute layout. And I already clicked preview before the section. So this is absolute layout, and this is adaptive layout. Well, these both are absolute layout, right? Okay. So the differences between the two different type of layouts is either allowing overlap or not. So if I click the preview, yeah, so this is the adaptive layout. You see there's no overlap between, and this is absolute layout. You see the overlap, right? So if you want to just create a dashboard, a default layout will go for the adaptive layout because they just assume there's no overlap between. But for like fully designed dashboard, most people or most of our clients are actually using absolute layout. That's why this is the important concept to bring this up, to know the differences between these. Let me use an example. So so let me close these two tabs. So this is the dashboard that we just created, right? And if we click the template, and there's a things called PC adaptive attribute, you see this layout type is adaptive layout. You can change from adaptive layout to absolute layout, but not another way around, because in the adaptive layout, they're gonna assume you're gonna take all the space in the dashboard. But if you change from absolute layout to adaptive layout, usually the layout will messed up a lot. It's really hard to fix. So my suggestion is just use adaptive layout in the beginning, and after you set all the components ready, and then switch to the absolute layout. That's what we're gonna do later on. So as you can see, this is the dashboard, right? Let me drag and drop a few components in there just to make it full. So for example, if I delete one of components in the adaptive layout, what's gonna happen is that this space will taken by other components, as you can see. So this report one has been expanded, right? So that's what you do for the adaptive layout. All the space have been taken. However, if you want to change to the absolute layout, you actually can add more components on top of each other. That's why I try to bring this up like the layer things. So, chart number one is on the very top, on the top of like picture 0 or chart 0 and report 1. That's, the layer thing step in. So understanding these will actually help you to, avoid some future mistake while you working on the report. And what else I can cover? Yeah, I think that would be everything for now for the layout part. But we're actually gonna go a little bit deeper while we were actually do our demo. So next part, I think we're actually gonna cover our demo. So I create a dashboard 101. Let me explain why we need to focus only 3 components in our dashboard by taking this as an example. So this is the dashboard that I made for this section. As you can see, we have title, we have like, different, we have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, like 6 indicators, right? 6 components. And something I would like to introduce to you, or our task for today, is right there. We're actually gonna make the title for the dashboard. And also we're gonna make this button-ish, like year, month, week, date, like this timestamp components in the dashboard. And last, we're actually gonna make these combined indicators or components. As you can see, I think I can zoom in a little bit. Yeah. So you can see if we choose different product, right? There's a table under, there's a bar chart under it. So I think this explain, what you need to focus on. But the best practice probably is to look at these, dashboard. So if I click the month, right, you see certain components in the dashboard has been refreshed. Why is that? Because I was talking about this is a timestamp, right? So basically what I did in here is that I actually create a template parameters over there to change the SQL query for each component. If I take a look about the designer, if I click this, you actually will see the time TP or time template parameters has been switched all the time. And that's why the data query has been changed and you see this refreshment or the input components reload. But in our section, we're gonna spend more time on the dashboard making. So we're not gonna worry about the data source or data query part. So if I click the month, right, you see, like, let's say the middle part, the chart has been automatically refreshed. And if I select the week, right, the entire dashboard has been refreshed. But pay attention on this one. If I click the central area, this like a region template parameters only have linkage between a few, only have linkage with, you only see the linkage between these components and these components, right? And we're actually gonna explain why while we were making these timestamp components. And this one we're explaining right now is that, for example, if I choose raspberry, the chart was like this. If I choose like avocado, different store, well, I think I need to zoom in a little bit. So if I choose avocado, tomato, right? See, all the results has been changed based on the product you select. Exactly same logic, you just change the parameters for the selected product, and the information has been changed. And again, I actually didn't really use the real database. It's pretty much use the dummy data, for make this work. So we're not gonna really worry about the SQL part. We just kind of like focus on how we make this happen. All right. What do we need to do next? Is I will explain how do you make these 3 components. So remember we're talking about you can use generate report to add. I think the best way is actually to expand it while we open the design. So we can actually drag and drop this generate report into the component, and when we enter it, we actually can do whatever we like in there. So in our example, we actually using generate report to create this title, and use the generate report to create this timestamp. But we actually have something else has included. It's called conditional formatting and hyperlink. So conditional formatting combined with the hyperlink actually give you this animation of these button clicking things. So let's go back to the the final result, you see like this button animation, like button-ish animation, like things. That's something that we can do in general report. So the reason why I want to bring this up is that I really want you guys to actually, see the general report and the dashboard. They're pretty much the same thing. Like everything you can do in the general report, you pretty much can just copy paste or just migrate into a dashboard. So I think this will actually explain a lot. And for this part, remember we were talking about the layouts, right? I think this is a good demonstration about different. It would be a good demonstration combined with the label widget and drop down widget and the general report. So if you look at the designer, we actually have a things called product label is located in here. And also we have things called product select TP, like template parameters, which you can see it in here. You see this name over there and the name over there. So basically, we actually use this drop-down box to make a connection or change the value of this product selected. And the last, it will be this general report as a very back. If I double click it, you will see, this is a general block-ish things, right? You see this variable has been located in here, and also there's a chart. I think we're a little bit early, so I actually want to introduce a little bit more stuff to you, something that's not really, planned in the beginning, but I think it's good to know this. For the dashboard, something very important about UI is the background color or background image. Let's say take this as an example, or we actually have been added image through here, right? You actually can add image as in different layers. So for example, there's a body. So there's a form and body, right? Body is like the entire dashboard. So one thing you can do is you actually click this customize it and click the image over there, and then click the select the image, and that's, well, this is where I put this picture. So you see this image has been added in there, right? So two things I want to highlight. One is that you actually see this image size, right? Because you see this match over there. For people who actually making dashboard, very common things they do is in the beginning is they actually know what kind of screen they're actually going to display there. So in this case, we make it exactly the same. And I think if I hide this part and make this at a 45%, will display the entire dashboard. Perfect. Yes. So this is something very neat, that's something that's more like a practical stuff, right? You need to have like proper size of image, and this size of the screen can be changed, because a very huge screen, you can have you can even have like multiple dashboards, and each dashboard, you can have multiple general report. That's something you need to do. And another things I would like to bring up is that you notice every time when you put an image or when you set the image as a background for the dashboard, you actually attach this file into this dashboard report, which means like every time when you click the preview, okay, let's click a preview. Every time when you click the preview, you're actually going to load the entire dashboard, including the page as well. So one thing I would like to show you over there is by seeing one dashboard, if you click in this developer mode, and there is a part about, it's called application. And under the frames, there is a called image. So this image actually has been embedded into this report. So one of the things to speed up your dashboard is that you actually need to compress the image before you do it, or before you actually insert this image as a background. So for that part, I actually have a link for it. It's called compressor IO. And what you need to do is like every time when you use like, especially like a huge image, for your dashboard, right? I would like to do something like, make the page smaller to speed up your dashboard. Yeah, see, this is something that you can do. And don't worry, I also attached this link into the Excel file, so you can use later on. And one more thing, still have a little bit more time, is that, in the dashboard, you actually can do some things about, let's say if you click one of components, there's things called padding, right? So we're actually going to see this later on, but I think it's okay to to tell you guys a little bit early, because sometimes if you want to adjust the location or the position, the position of the components, sometimes you notice it's really hard to move. Probably is because you forgot to do the setting about the padding part, because the default one is always like 0, 11, 11, 11. I think our example actually we need to change these every time to to kind of like emphasize these things, this kind of setting exists over there, and it definitely will save you some time in the future in terms of like designing the dashboard. So what we're gonna have after water break is that I actually made a little demo over there just to save us some time, because it's called unit, yeah, dashboard stage unit. So I'll click the preview. You notice the title is gone and the timestamp is gone and all these like store ranking components gone, right? So our job later on is that we actually make something like this, step by step, one, and very quickly we will get a taste about like how dashboards should be generated. I think we can take a water break now, and maybe we're gonna come back in 10 minutes later. So I guess for 48. Yeah. And see you guys in 10 minutes. $3.50, my bad. Yeah, it's not 4. Okay. Okay, so welcome back. So this is something that I made early to save us some time because the UI design or the background setting actually take lots of time. So let me introduce what do we have so far. So what we're gonna do, actually, we're gonna create this title in here and also timestamp and also this store ranking components. But on top of that, we actually have all these components ready, as you can see from this like body, like the layout view. So what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna create a title by using general block, like very like easy one. And after that, we're gonna use exactly the same thing, but combined with different functionality or like conditional formatting and hyperlink in here to make the linkage between like these components and the chart in the middle. That will be task number 2. And task number 3 is just to combine with label widget and drop down widget and then report block together into these components. At the same time, we're gonna work something with the template parameters, called select product or product select template parameters to do some linkage. So I think that's what we're gonna do. Okay. So first thing, I will just drag and drop this report block, somewhere over there. You'll notice after I do the drag and drop, you see this new report 0 has been created, right? Has been pointed out this one. And you notice this is actually on top of this, background layer, right? So it's because we're actually using absolute layouts. So notice this is the absolute layout. Okay. What I'm gonna do is I actually can do like manually, drag and drop this component in here, but just to save you some time, I actually made some cheat sheet in here. I actually just copy this, coordinates in here. I can just do it in there, just to save you some time. Just because do the drag and drop will take a very, very long time to do it. Okay, so this will be 45, and this will be 104. So after I click enter, please pay attention on there. Okay, it's already happened. So click enter. So you notice this has been resized, right? So usually 2 things you need to do. One is change the name of the components. So you actually will know which one's which. So this is called title content. And another things I want to show you is by clicking the other ones, you actually can do some padding, like padding setting later on, but we're not going to do it for now because I actually want to show you what it's going to look like without doing it. So by double clicking the cell, you actually go to this, CP general report HUI, and you merge everything because we want to add a title for it, right? So let's call this sales performance dashboard. And I think will be 26, that will be the font, and then the middle, then change the color to the gray. So you see this little star in here, right? So you can either click save and go back to the form and then click the save again. And you actually can see the modification, or you can just click the preview. So for now, I'm actually gonna click the save and then preview, okay? So save, the little star's gone, form, the little star still there. I'm gonna click save and preview. So you actually can see this sales performance dashboard has been appeared, right? But I don't know if you notice, actually the position of this tags is not really accurate, right? That's where this padding and the content display has stepped in. So click this advanced under the title content, and there's advanced, and there's and under there's a things called padding. So the default padding always is 0 on top, and the bottom left, right, it's 11, right? So let's change this everything to 0. And next things I want to show you is this content display mode. Because in our example, we're only going to display the text. So we're actually going to choose this binary cover. So the content will get displayed, take all the space, click it, save, and then go to and click refresh. Yep, you will see this content has been appeared into the middle. The reason why this is something that's the way designed this way is because for each component can be used for different purpose, right? But for the general report, because people assume you need a padding on the top, and you don't need any space for the padding, but you need some space in the bottom, left, right? So I guess that would be something that's they designed it in a way like this, but we do need to know this kind of design exists, because for many of our clients actually they have really hard time to change the UI. And I think that's why I actually use these like 3 times just to prove that these things exist, instead of it's really difficult to find how to set a position for each component. So the first part was done, and let's move on the second part about the timestamp. So before we do it, I want to show you there's a things called template parameters, and there's a variable called time template parameters. So this is connect to the timestamp. We actually will see different one called product select TP, but they were connect a widget, a drop-down widget, in a different way, and we will see this later. So this is the time TP, right? Okay, we're gonna do exactly the same thing, drag and drop this report block, and rename this as timestamp. And also, I think one suggestion I can give to you is do something like this, like RB1, like write block 1. Why this is important? Because I don't know if you noticed, when I name this component, I actually not only name the content of this component, I also give the position itself, right? So this is the middle block, left block, and the right block, middle block 1. From top to bottom, like top is 1, bottom is 2, 3, etc. You will find out it's useful because having this, layout overview, it's really difficult to know which one's which just by having the name. So having this kind of indicators to tell you where these things are located, definitely will save you some time, based on my experience at least. So next things, I will make this report block smaller, just how for the 4 button area is enough. So that's what I'm gonna do. I have Chi in here, so I think this will be 6. Well, so pay attention on this area. If I click OK, it became smaller. And next thing, I want to do the padding things. Remove the padding to 0. So double click it. You'll see this very small area has been set in. So what I want to do is I want to merge these 2 cells put year and do exactly the same thing for the other two. This will be month. Week and day. So we're gonna put these things in the middle and then turn to gray and click the preview. So you see these 4 words has been appeared on over there. So our next task is how to make this button-ish animation, right? Here's how. By select everything, we're actually going to use this conditional formatting and hyperlink together. So by select everything and then click this conditional formatting and click add. So the key in here is actually changing the background of this each cell. So click edit and there's a select image. So I have a file called unselected. So if I open it, you'll see this area over there, right? Like this light blue. Click OK. And I don't need to do anything because it's unselected, right? So what I want to do is I actually want to rename this called unselected. And I want to create another one. I select everything and then different background color. This selected PNG file. Click OK. And what I want to do next is I want to create the connection or the linkage between every time when I click the cell, the value has been changed, right? But what value has been changed in there? Time TP, right? So click the formula and then click the define. So I was looking for time TP equal to $$, will be the current value. So click OK, and then you need to press the add to make sure these things exist. That's something people forgot, I guess. So this will be called selected. So click save and then preview. So this is what we have so far. We have these button-ish things, but you notice this year seems already has been clicked, and these 3 has been not, right? But if we click it, you notice there's nothing happened. The reason why is because we didn't really set a hyperlink in here to change the value for it. But the reason why year has been, seems already clicked because I set the default value for it. Let me show you by clicking designer. You notice they have default value for the year, right? So that's why the year seems to be already clicked. So what do I want to do next is I want to use this hyperlink to change the value. Every time when I click the button over there, the value has been changed. So I click this hyperlink and add, there's a thing called current dashboard object. And if I click this, I can't really do much. Let me click this. So this is where this object coming from. So I'm actually working on this own object, right? So that's why this one, I don't need to do anything about this from object because I'm working on these own components. What I need to do next is I want to click this plus sign and then tell them which parameters I want to change. It's called time TP. And the value will be this $$ Click OK. So this color has been changed, right? Let's make this back to where they were. Save, click review. So let's zoom in a little bit. So every time when I click it, you see this condition formatting of the background has been changed. If I didn't If it didn't select this, it became unselected background. But when I select it, the background has been changed. That's how this button-ish animation has been done by using hyperlink and conditional formatting. And this is it's a material about inside of general report. Not really dashboard, but definitely something that you can use in a dashboard because the connection between these two is not that straightforward. Or you just you can use dashboard animation inside of in a dashboard. You actually can use general report animation as well. So that's my point. And the next is that remember when we click this like region button, the information has been auto refreshed, right? But every time when we click this, it's not. Why is that? It's something we need to set up about the hyperlink again. So go to the designer. Let's say if we want to move connection, let's say I first select everything. I will rename this. It's called timestamp. Right, block 1. Okay, let's add another one. Or you actually can copy paste it, but let's just add another one. Okay, first select everything, then add another one. Let's say if we want to make a connection between the current object and to the chart, the one in the middle, like a multiple chart, we will choose where this object coming from will be chart MB2. Remember in the beginning, I was showing the SQL query saying that some data source is relayed on the value of this time TP. After the value has been changed, after you click it, that's why the SQL query has been changed as well. That's why this page is gonna refresh automatically or reload automatically. So do exactly the same thing. So triple $sign, click OK. I mean, the name of this is not important, but it's just like, I want to make a, using same format as outside. So that's why I have changed a little bit. So as you can see, if I click this month, year, right, the middle part has been automatically refreshed as well. And I can do exactly the same thing with the different components if I know, the query is related to these parameters. And the next one is our final task, this component, the store ranking component. So go to designer, back to the dashboard. So what I'm gonna do is actually gonna drag and drop this label and drag and drop this drop down box, and then drag and drop this general report. Something I want to show you maybe later, but for now, let's focus on the label. So double click this, you will go to this label setting. So this label name is called product label. And the coordinates, I have a GG on it, so 31. 141, 90, 30. So you see this label has been relocated in here. What do we want to do next is I want to relocate on this one. But before that, we need to put some value for this label, right? Because the label need a text. So over there, let's capitalize it. And then, oh yeah, the color, forgot. If I click save and then click preview, yeah, see the product has been appeared. Next, the drop-down box, double click it, name this. When we name this drop-down box, what we actually want to do is we actually want to use this drop-down box connect to this per product select TP. So click this template and there's a template parameters and this product select TP, and we're going to copy it and paste it in here. And then we want to change the location of this widget. So as you can see, this drop-down box has been located in here. Next thing we want to do is we want to connect to the data source with this drop-down menu. Do exactly the same thing, in the general report, and there's the ones. Okay, I'm gonna show it. I think we have a data query called product dummy data. Click name. Make the fonts maybe a little bit bigger. It's 10. And I think these should be the fonts should be 10 as well. I click preview. So you see this raspberry is already being added because this is the default value. And if we click here, you see all different food, right? Cauliflower, I don't know, sweet potato. Yeah. And also one thing I want to highlight is that you notice this chart has been automatically changed, right? So this is pretty much what we did in the previous step because we actually changed the value for the time TP. But these we actually changed the value for the product select. That's why you see without doing what we did in this part, we still can connect the different components as long as you got a way to either these two components they were using the same data source. That's basically what it is. So it shows two different ways to make a linkage between the components. And the next things we're gonna work on this general report. So I think this part it will be called store ranking. And the coordinates will be something like this. Yes. All right. So one thing I want to highlight in here is did you guys notice this part? So basically what they were saying is that this store ranking is on top of this drop-down box, which means this is the very top and this has been covered, right? So what's gonna happen is that, let me show you what's gonna happen. I think it's a good, good example to show, if you don't understand this layout things properly. You notice this part is not clickable. But for the previous one, it's clickable, right? Why is that? Because even though it's not, it's visible, but there is actually generate block or generate report or generate block actually is on top of this drop-down box, right? It happened, sometime in the production level, some people, come to our tech support saying that, oh, you know what, this is not clickable, right? Figure out why. So I guess that's kind of explained it. So what do we need to do is, well, before this, let me close this window tab a little bit. You can actually move this down a little bit. So this is a lower layer. Click this preview. Now we are talking. See, it's a clickable again because the layer things. And then next we have the name, we have the coordinates, and we have the padding things. Forgot to set it up. If I remember this correctly, I think padding should be 25. Why is that? Because I want to leave some space for it, and for the background, right? So let's do this later. I think let's do it now. It's okay. So I do have an image. It's called component medium. So that's specifically for this size of the components. And another thing's opacity make it 100%, so you actually can see it. And then just save. Go click the preview. So you will see, this area and this area are equivalent, right? And you see these things. And going to this general report, what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna merge a few cells together and merge these two cells together and merge these together. So this is, we can add some like title in here, and this area we're not gonna do anything because we're actually gonna want to leave this to the drop down box. And this will be the area for display the chart. So let's do this by clicking this formula, and we want to have this product ranking to the middle, to the gray, click the preview. Yeah, you see this. This is a variable that we're choosing, and that's the store ranking. I mean, the text we put in there, right? That's the title of this component. And this space we're gonna leave empty because we actually want some space to allow these widgets to appear. So go back to designer, and we're gonna start working on this A3, A4, or AF to, this entire big chunk by clicking the chart, creating a bar chart. So by clicking the chart, we're just gonna set the data first. I think there's things called product ranking and shop name, sales amount. Click preview. So far we're pretty much done for the design the dashboard, but next what we need to have is like a polishing part, right? You notice this UI and this UI is not the same. So our job right now is we're gonna make each component or all the components have follow the same like style of UI or same style, like same color scheme. That's pretty much what we need to do. So this is more like about the chart. I'm not gonna spend too much time on it, but I think it's nice to have it. Just kind of go through this like a little bit slowly. So title is about this. legend is about this, extra piece of information about the chart, right? We don't need these two. So not gonna have title in there, not gonna have legend in there, and label. We actually want to have a label because the label is like the number gonna appear in here, right? So what we're gonna do, use a label, and then let's make it outside, and also change the color a little bit to gray. And let's click the preview. Let's do everything together just because I want to save you some time because our focus today is more like a dashboard, right? So yeah, for the series, it's something kind of need to require some UI design in there. So the color scheme, right? I also made the Chichi over there, choose a color. So click the customize color and just do it in here. So the color scheme kind of like became the same. And something else, it's about the wrong corner, right? This part, we can do it in here. So let's say 5 pixels. And then X. So X is like this bottom thing. X-axis is like a bottom things, right? We don't want it. We're just gonna hide it all. And to make this a little bit longer. What else? Yeah, looks okay. And Y-axis, right? So hide display, customize it, make smaller font, color, let's say gray, and min state, let's say off, and background. So background chart area looks fine to me. And drawing area, I think something we can do is we want to remove these dotted line, right? So something about vertical dotted line, grid line, and tooltip looks okay. And something else about these 3 stars, like 3 dots in there, right? Well, how do we remove that? By clicking the special effects, and there's interaction, cancel this out, and the 3 dots gone. Yeah, see, these 3 dots, you should cancel these 3. So then click the preview to see if it works. Apparently, there's an extra line in there. Let's take a look about these chart Y. Okay. Yeah. So I would say, this part and this part are pretty much equivalent. So fees is pretty much everything I prepared for the section. And then let's do a quick summary about what we have been covered. Unfortunately, I just closed the Excel file. About our agenda, let me open it one more time. So basically in our section, we actually have been covered the definition of the dashboard and some source you can see or you can use to see what's the capacity of the FineReport in terms of dashboard design. You actually can see how other people did their report and either get some ideas about how do you make your own dashboard, and also to see what kind of things you can do with the FineReport dashboard. And next things we have is the design patterns, right? So for the design pattern, we divide into 4 stages. And remember, the blueprint is very, very important, and you need to know what kind of presentation to give, and also the way how do you deliver the data is important. And the last is the polishing part, right? You need to design your UI a little bit. So for example, if there's a data was not perfect, you need to do a little bit about like, either remove the extra category or, change the color or even rotate the chart a little bit. All these things all these things is to increase the readability, right? And after that, we do introduce like two key concepts about the layout in the dashboard. It's like absolute layout and adaptive layout. The key differences over there is either allowing overlap or not. But in our reality, in the production level, most of our clients will choose absolute layout, even though it's really time consuming in terms of changing the position of the components. That's why I made a cheat sheet over there to tell me where this is located. Well, if you do it manually, I can show you. It's not that easy, right? Okay, if I click it, so for example, if I'm moving this around, right, it's just not easy because you don't really know how it looks like, and every time you click the preview. Something else I can introduce to you, and actually we got things called developer mode. You can click this. So they actually provide you a way to rearrange the components. You can do something like this, but again, it's not personally. I don't really like it because every time you need to click the save, and then close the tab, and you can go back to the designer, click the refresh to modify it again. So you can't really. I don't know. I just personally don't really like it, but I think you can, feel free to use it if you think it's a good tool. But that's something that you can do definitely. And these will be the layouts, right? So for the layout, many things you need to think. You need to be careful, and there's padding, and there for each component there's padding, and there's a layer things you need to know. And in our demo, we actually, use very easy example, from the very beginning, just like generate block and to a generate block with conditional formatting and hyperlink together to make this button-ish component. And the next part, it will be something that combine with different widget and the generate block together. So I think, as you can see, this kind of like step-by-step kind of teach you how to use general block, and you actually can use all general block only to create a dashboard. And what else we have? Yeah. So I think that's everything I have. So although we didn't really fully create a dashboard from the scratch, but I think this picture of Painted should be enough for now for many our audience today to understand how the general idea about different dashboard should be created. So I guess thank you all for your time and attention today, and it was my pleasure to share my dashboard experience with you guys all. And I hope you guys find this presentation informative and helpful again. So thank you for being here, and I salute for your interest in. And you guys have a great time. And if you have time, please fulfill the questionnaire in the chat box. And we're actually going to send you the recording of the tutorial section and the content as well. And yeah, you guys have a good time. And yeah, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask us by text. And I think there's a lot of questions already. That's very nice. Okay, and we're actually going to close the section in 10 minutes. And if you have any questions, please do so. Yeah, thank you. Yes. Waiting for the record. Yeah, will do. Just fulfill the questionnaire and just give us some feedback. Really appreciate that. And thank you. Yeah, we're gonna wait for another 10 minutes and before we close the section. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, have a good time. I mean, have a good night or have a good day.
Oh, wis mari, Mas.